This is something that everyone needs to know, because even if you're not in this situation, you will be able to help somebody else. Right now is a really tough time for anyone who's self-employed, especially if you're an artist or performer. But it really goes for anyone. Maybe you cut hair, maybe you're a baker, maybe you're an actor, or maybe you sell hot dogs at the beach. Whatever it is, this is important information. The government has opened up the ability to file for unemployment even for people who are self-employed. This is something that's brand new, and because of that, there might be a lot of artists or self-employed people who don't know the process. I have a good buddy, Rich Smith, who knows all the ins and outs of this process. He put together a really great detailed video on how to get started, and how to be prepared, and what to expect. I sent that video to everyone that I know, and a lot of people were asking some follow-up questions, so that's what this is for. Click right here to watch that video in its entirety. Make sure you check out that video, because this is a follow-up. That video really has everything you need to know in order to go through this process. However, I had a few friends with some follow-up questions, so I was able to get Rich on a quick video chat to cover some of those topics. Here it is. All right, Rich, thanks so much for coming on, and thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on the show. Adam, this whole topic was your idea, so a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you made that video, because I think this is a really, really important topic for people, especially for artists and anyone who's self-employed, because it's the kind of thing that, you know, that kind of blindsided everybody. Nobody expected to be put in this position where they can't really work, and especially since the unemployment has changed, where gig workers and self-employed people weren't able to apply in the same way. So they, you know, this is new for everybody.
Absolutely. The first person to come to mind was the person who cuts my hair. You know, she's renting a chair, and nobody can go get haircuts now. Nobody can get their, you know, tips frosted or their highlights. And all of a sudden, you know, she's out of a paycheck. And then our daycare woman who takes care of our son, a singer-songwriter friend who I'm used to seeing at the local bar and restaurant, you know, everybody's kind of wondering what to do next, and then this opportunity came about. So it should be a very, very good opportunity for a lot of people.
Definitely, definitely. And if you have not watched that video, please watch that video before you watch this, because this is really the follow-up for updates and some more information on it. And one of the questions that one of my friends asked me after watching that was, and I'm going to actually read it off from right here, and his question was, what if you are paid in cash for some jobs? What type of proof of income are they looking for?
So specifically, I'm getting a lot of comments about this, and you have to back up what you are claiming with your taxes. Many unemployed people, independent contractors, sole proprietors, they file their taxes in their own name, but they have this one form called the Schedule C. And what you're going to look for on Schedule C is line 31. When you look up this stuff, that's going to be your net income. So you're going to use that number if they ask you how much you make. And I'll add one more thing. Some people don't even file that. They just have all these 1099s that come in from different jobs or projects, and you could use those to add up how much you make. And I'll give you a good for example. Let's say you do a ton of Christmas concerts, and there's all these plays that you make different, you know, set drops or backgrounds for. Well, they're going to look at all 4 of your quarters on some states, or they're just going to look at your top 2 quarters and get the average number from there. So it really is something that varies state by state. But if he's reporting those cash earnings, then he's going to be able to use those earnings when he's filing for unemployment.
So do you have any advice for someone, like, if they did not claim all of their cash income, are they kind of out of luck? Is there anything that they can do to try to get back a little bit more from that?
Well, what I would say is focus on what the law that was just passed, quote unquote, the new benefits are. So essentially, many states have a maximum amount of unemployment you could earn. And that maximum amount in some states is kind of low. I mentioned in the video, Florida, I think it's like $275. So if you're doing a lot of gigs down in Florida, if you're a musician touring around, hitting all the beach clubs, the most you're going to get is $275. But the new rules give you $600 on top of that. So my advice would be, no matter what, file for unemployment in the state where you worked, get in the system, and don't worry so much about what the state's going to give you. They will give you some small portion. I think Hawaii, for example, the minimum amount is $5. Get that $5, but then you're going to get a $600 check on top of that every single week until this thing settles down.
Oh, so that's really good advice. So yeah, even if you for some reason didn't claim virtually any of your cash stuff for some reason, which you, of course you always should in the future, you'll still at least get that $600 on top of whatever small amount you would be getting anyway.
Exactly. Each state has a minimum threshold. Like we're here in New York, I think theirs is like $2,500. So let's say your whole job, all 4 quarters, the whole year, you didn't earn that much. I would still recommend applying because they have relaxed a lot of those usual minimums and thresholds. However, those are in place. So you might have a couple extra hoops to jump through in order to see that money start coming in.
One thing that a lot of people are wondering right now is this for me? Some people think that they might not qualify when maybe they should, and they don't really know where to start to find out. What advice would you have for them on that?
Yeah, I would say to take that fear and just set it aside for right now, because many artists, many performers, independent contractors, they're used to handling their own business. They kind of think that their business is unique, but all across the state, all across the country, there are landscapers, hairdressers, artists who are making a living every single day doing what they love, what they're creative and passionate about. So what I would say is to just go to your state's unemployment website and start to shift through filing that first claim. And like I said in my video, it is not going to be an easy process. I use the word confounding. It's confusing. It's frustrating. And then the waiting seems to be very hard too. But start there. Fill out that application. And hopefully in a couple of weeks, those checks will start rolling in for you.
Has there been any formal changes to the process or any new information since you've made this video?
Oh, absolutely. A good way of looking at it is each state probably got a few thousand, maybe a few 10,000 applicants every single year. And now these states are getting hundreds of thousands, millions of applications. So if you go online, you're seeing some of these websites that look like 1980s, late 90s websites being overhauled with the help of like New York's using, I think, I want to say it was Google, and I think it was Kansas using Amazon. I might have switched those around. Just long story short, they are updating their system. So pretty soon, hopefully they're going to have a link that says, if you're self-employed, click here.
No, that's a great point. It brings me to my next question is like, if someone finds these videos in like next month and then realize at that point that they want to go through this process, I believe I heard something about retroactive pay. How far back does that go? And will it be there, in the future? Like, again, if someone decides to file in a month, will it be retroactive all the way to the beginning?
Yeah, it sure will. And that's the most important part to realize, because some people are trying to call by phone and they're not getting through, and they're worried they're not going to get their benefits. If you're entitled to the benefits, you will get them. So keep trying. If you realize or see in this video in a week or two that, hey, I should apply, most likely what's going to happen is they're going to backdate those benefits to the end of March, the beginning of April.
And so what's some more advice you'd give to people who are in different states? So
far I would tell you that I've seen a lot of people who are confused in Texas and California, and that's because there's different political factions down there. I don't know anything about that, but what I can tell you is that these states have an active Facebook and Twitter for their labor department. And believe it or not, that is where they are replying to their residents. That's where people are communicating. So in addition to watching a video like this or my video, they really should get online, get on social media, and start talking, because pretty soon the voices are just going to be deafening to the powers that be, and people are going to be able to get their benefits.
Since making that video, has anything about the best time to call changed at all?
Honestly, there's not a best time to call yet. I've seen, like I mentioned before, the social media posts that we've added 100 people calling, and there's hundreds of thousands of people applying. So there's still not a best time to call. You can try late on Friday or Saturday when everybody's tired and given up, but that's about it.
Yeah, but they, like you kind of mentioned, just a grueling process, and you just have to keep going and going and going. My other buddy followed up with me too, saying that he had to call like 300 times until he finally got through, and then it was a painful process, but he is very glad that he did it, and it was very much helpful thanks to your video.
Oh, that's great. One thing I will say is, A few of the states are starting to organize by first letter of last name, and then they're taking anybody who didn't get through on, let's say, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and if they're staying open 7 days a week, even Sunday. So if you're really struggling to get through, the end of the week might be a little bit better.
You know, one last thing I want to say is I think for some people, you know, people have so much pride in their business that they've done or their art that they create. I think it might be a little bit, you know, hard with their pride to file for unemployment, even though, you know, this is a time where there kind of really is any other options. Is there anything you would say to someone who's maybe a little reluctant to want to do this?
I would. You have to protect your business. There is no crystal ball, and we don't know if this situation is going to last just a couple more weeks or a couple more months. And I don't know about you, but people who are self-employed, they tend to expect and know when their income's coming in. And I can't tell you when you're going to be able to start working again. So the good thing about this unemployment is it's extended 13 weeks beyond what your state offers. Places like here in New York, that's 39 weeks of payments. And so you can do your own math, and when you get your benefits, basically be able to rely on that for essentially the next 6 months or so, at least having something coming in.
Yeah, you know, that's a good point. We don't know how long this could go, and especially for a lot of my performer friends, even once there is a cure for this, you know, we don't know how long, you know, the stigma of groups coming together is even going to be around for as far as there being more shows for people to do, or, you know, it'll depend on what angle people have their businesses built around, what kind of model they have. But, you know, for some people, it could be quite a while before things get back to normal, if you know, we might have a new normal.
Yeah, and this is like a blanket or layer of protection for your business. And if you don't need it, at least it was there. And if you do need it, you're going to really be happy that you took advantage of this opportunity, because that's what it is. It's an opportunity to protect your business.
Well, thanks so much for coming on, Rich. And everyone, make sure you check out that video. And I'm sure you're going to be having some more updates and more advice for people who have similar types of situations or as things change.
Absolutely, yeah. There's already some questions about things like economic disaster loans, or another one called the PPP. And I'm answering almost every comment and question I get on my YouTube page. And I would love to hear and answer some more. So keep them coming. I really appreciate it, Adam. Everything you did to kind of spark this and ignite this this community of people, you know, asking questions.
Well, it's important, and you know, again, performing is tough enough as a business, and or running any self-employed business is tough enough, let alone going through something like this. So any help that people can get is all the better. Is there any more ending advice you'd have for people at this point?
I would say that you really want to get your application in as soon as possible. The states are now starting to say, even though their sites are outdated and they're working on updating them, they want you in their system. So if you're wondering, should I or shouldn't I, you really should. And the application process is a little confusing. And what you're going to need to do is kind of work through it. You could go back and look at some frequently asked questions, or check out some of the comments of what other people said, but just get your name, get your claim number. And one more thing, you do have to sort of go back in every single week and refile, reclaim. And you're going to see an amount for a little while that might say 0. Keep going in every single week, because like you asked, it will be retroactive at some point.
Rich, thank you so much for coming on. I think this has been really helpful for a lot of people, and we appreciate that very much.
Awesome, Adam. Thanks again for having me.
All right, bye.
Bye.
I cannot stress this enough. You have to share this information with as many people as you know, even if you think it doesn't apply to them. The more people that know this information, the better. I hope you guys were able to get a lot of value in this. Make sure you follow Rich's channel. He's going to be releasing a lot more information around this topic, as well as a bunch of other information that's really good to know if you run your own business. And if you want to know more about the business side of what I do as well, I started a weekly video chat that we've been posting online with my good friend Brian Miller. Brian's a magician turned motivational speaker who specializes in human connection. He did a TED Talk a couple years ago that's got over 3 million views on it. It was really good, and I highly recommend you check it out. We've been doing these weekly chats where we talk about the business side about what we're doing. Click here if you want to see some of those conversations. Lastly, you're going to be seeing some extra videos on this channel. The first guests are going to be my friends over at Wonderspark. They're going to be doing a show called Fox Fables right here on this channel Monday, April 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And there's going to be many more guests to come, so keep an eye out for it. All right, that's it it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this information, and like I said, please share this with as many people as you can. That's it for now. See you next time.